Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, there is not going to be a race with this video because I just want to get it out, and iRacing decided not to give us this race first hour, which is epic. I'm going to run the next one, but in the meanwhile, here's the video of what I've learned so far through hosted races and practices. Alright, let's take a look at that. So, what we are going to do here, this is a second lap. First lap is about half a tenth worse, in my opinion, but it's really not that bad if you want to get 2 attempts of a first lap, but I definitely can feel a little bit more extra grip on the second lap. And if you're doing a second lap, make sure to take your 1 and 2 and your out lap pretty easy. You don't need to push too hard because you're going to have a lot of time to make up your speed in this corner. So you hear a lot when I'm driving the regular ARCA car. I say you want to get on the gas as early as possible. Well, this is no longer that applicable because of the horsepower we have. It's just too much. If we go full throttle here, we can go full throttle here, and we would probably make the exit, but we would just wheel spin the whole way and get loose. And that doesn't do anything for us. What does wheel spin do to make the car go faster? It doesn't. So we want to do an interesting timing here where we're partial throttle so that it's not spinning, so maybe half to 3/4, and then right off the corner exit, right when you can kind of eyeball that you're about to reach the exit, then that's when you get on the full throttle and you make it a straight exit. Because this car, it needs to be going in a straight line to go full throttle. You see what happens on those restarts. Well, what do you think is going to happen in a quarter if you force full throttle? So that's going to be a big theme between both the race and the qualifying here. So I'm not full throttle until this point. I'm just gradually, look at that, gradually bringing up the throttle from corner middle, gradual, full. Okay, so I'm not full throttle until I can literally see the front stretch. So that's probably enough about the out lap. Now let's get to the real lap here. And you see it still got loose. Crazy, crazy stuff. Love this car. So we get here, and we're going to be doing bottom. So both lines are going to be bottom. Now the top apparently is pretty good. But the thing with high horsepower is the more the horsepower a car has, the more that a bottom line can make up on the top line because it's less momentum dependent. So I really do think that bottom is faster, if not by too much, but in this case, probably about a tenth, maybe a little less. So we're going to lift really early compared to what you're usually expecting with ARCA. My lifting point, I remember this, gradual lift off the throttle. This goes for both race and qualifying. Why gradual lift off the throttle? Well, it helps the car settle. If you go from 100% throttle to 0% throttle, the car gets all out of whack. It doesn't really know where its weight wants to shift. Whereas if you give it a little bit of gradual throttle and then kind of mix that with your turn in, the car will guide itself into that weight shift that you're looking for. So then brake dragging, pretty heavy brake considering where we're at. Excuse me. About 33% brake, 1/3. And then we're going to be aiming. I like to aim so if I make a straight line out of here, I want to reach the white line at that point. So we angle our car downward, and then we aim for the white line with the brake. And then we don't let off the brake until right before we reach that white line. See, brake, and then maybe like a foot from the white line, I hit the throttle, because that throttle will help me keep off the white line. But we're not going to go full throttle like we would in ARCA. We need to only go half. This half throttle is very important because we're doing whatever is possible to keep the tires engaged and also keep up as much speed as possible. If we go any more than this, that's when the tires start spinning. So you see that I'm holding my wheel as steady as possible and then just trying to gradually raise the throttle. This is all about smooth throttling. Just gradual, gradual, gradual. As smooth as can be. If any of this was that much less smooth, that's when the car kicks out loose. So you guys really got to focus on having the smoothest foot as possible. I'm going to do this without any pauses now. So brake down to the white, partial throttle to about half right before you reach the white, and then hold it for a little bit, but then just start raising it bit by bit by bit until you want to be full throttle again when you can see daylight. When you can see the backstretch, that's when you can be full throttle, but you don't want to be full throttle much before then, or else you're just going to get needless wheel spin. All right, 3 and 4, same idea, honestly. This is going to be a little bit more of an arc than 1 and 2. This corner just likes to be arced a little more, so I like to go a little bit further into the corner, a little wider. You see how this angle is a lot less narrow. So we're going to kind of sweep it from high to low with that brake drag. And then once again, about a foot from the white line, we pick up the throttle. Now we can be a little more aggressive on the throttle in 3 and 4. 1 and 2, we really need to be like half. Here I'm pushing like 60%. And this is all like hundredths of a second. So this is all really important. And again, we're just bit by bit, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, and then full throttle when you see daylight. It's honestly pretty simple. If you make it too complicated, then there's a lot more points where you can fail. But with this, I'll do it one more time without stopping. You brake to the white line, throttle right before you reach it, about to half, then you start picking it up bit by bit. Try to keep the wheel as steady as possible. Might have to start opening it up if it gets loose. And then full throttle when you can see the front stretch. And you just drive it up to the wall. All right, so that's the lap. Pretty good lap here. It seems about like a tenth off of what the Mega Coke Series guys can do. So I'm pretty happy with that. This really isn't my forte. I just love this car and I'm really happy to learn a lot about it. So let's go see what I learned about the race. All right, let's do a little bit of long run here. So forgive me a little bit if my driving isn't great. I turned the volume down so that you can hear my voice. And you may ask yourself, well, why don't you just split the tracks? And I will tell you that makes too much sense. But yeah. So anyways, as we are going out here, I just have a couple notes. The line is going to be pretty simple, and it's going to stay for the entirety of the race. So those are two things that we have going for us. Now, this isn't the only viable line, but this is just what I found is a really good race line to be consistent with and just to run a good race. But if you need to search, if you need to battle, definitely prepare other lines as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to let off early. And we're just going to try to get to the white line here. And then we get to partial throttle, 60%, and we just don't do anything but just hold that throttle. Then when we see the exit of the quarter, we just gas up to the wall. You don't have to gas all the way up to the wall. If your car wants to be pinned down a little more, you can kind of keep it a lane off if you really want to. But yeah, you see here, just going to hold it. And you see in this scenario, because I get a little bit tail happy, I actually exit the corner about a lane off the wall, and that's okay.
33.
And that's a 0.3, so we're really not off the pace. Now, another variation of this is we can run kind of up on the seam here. I think I entered a little too early there, so that was a little bit more right front than I wanted to use. And then we go down here. You see, keep it by the white, just hold it, and come up. Overdriving corner entry is going to be the #1 issue that you will face. Because if you're used to ARCA like me, it's very easy to overdrive corner entry. You want to get out a little earlier than you think. Just get to that white, and then just get onto that partial throttle moment where you're just holding the partial throttle, then you see the exit and you full throttle. You really don't have to overcomplicate it, I promise you. It's not that bad in my opinion. Now when you start, I'll show you here. Now when I start going full throttle here, look at how loose I get. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But there's no reason to go full throttle there, because if you're full throttle and your rear is spinning, you're not gaining any speed there. You're just gaining tire wear. So down here, you just hold it, and you keep it close to the white, and then we throttle straight up the track. It gets a little loose there. I probably throttled a little too early. That's a good telltale sign of that. 3 and 4 to the white on partial throttle. And you see how much time we gain back because we just kept it pinned.
33.5.
Alright, and so there's actually a couple more different lines that you want to be aware of. For short run situations, late race cautions, maybe you need to defend a car for track position. You can run the first seam like this. A little bit deeper, a little bit wider arc, get it on the seam, and the same thing. And this actually gets a little bit more of a launch than the bottom, but at the same time it uses a little bit more tire. I'll show you in 1 and 2 as well.
33.5.
So you let out, aim for the seam, brake until the car kind of rotates on you, then you go back to just holding that partial throttle, and you get a really good launch off the corner comparatively. But again, that used a lot of time. I'm just going to show you the bottom here. One more time, this is what you're looking for, just kind of really easy. No need to push anything. You get 80 laps in this race. All about the tire saving. And then the last thing you want to be aware of is the top line. This is a line that you can use to pass people, and I don't recommend that you use this line more than like maybe 3 times total before you start feeling the effects of the car. So if you see somebody slow, you see it's not really, I kind of had a poor entry there. I'll do a couple laps of this. 3 and 4, the top line isn't as good as 1 and 2. So if you're going to make a move on the outside, I recommend doing it in 1 and 2. You just see how much I have to battle there. Alright, let's see what we can do in 1 and 2 here.
729.
Off the gas earlier than you think, brake, and kind of just get on, same thing, hold the throttle. No need to go full throttle here. Yeah, so it really isn't better than the bottom, but it's a way to pass somebody who's slow on the bottom, if that makes sense. So you see here, when I run this bottom line and compare it to the top line I ran the previous lap, it's even-ish. Looks like the top beat it out a bit, kind of contradicting myself.
33.77.
So between the middle line, the top line, and the bottom line, they're all kind of equal. Best on tires, bottom. Worst on tires, top. This first seam, viable. But you have to be very disciplined not to get on the gas too early on that seam. So search around, see what works for you. I'm going to recommend the bottom line. But anyways, thank you guys all for watching. I'm really looking forward to making these guides for you. And I was going to do a race for this one. I'm still going to do it, but I want to get this video out now, help you guys out before the race starts. So make sure that you keep on the lookout for the following guides. I'm going to be doing the farmer guides for this and ARCA for my channel members. So make sure to subscribe to my channel members. It's in the description or with the join button there. And you can have access to all my future farmers guides. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.